audio test today. Make sure that that isn't gonna. But welcome. Let me get some notifications out of here. Welcome, Mike. Glad to have you back. Let's see here. We also got some. Oh no, we got some effects and stuff. Hello. Today I've not seen you before here on the stream, so welcome. Glad you could make it. Thank you for everybody being flexible today as well. Um, Obviously shoot for 3 p.m. and then, if we need to adjust because my wife's meeting schedule, I do so. Welcome RJ, loud and clear. Thank you for the update. So I think what happened last time was I have that like time tracking thing on my phone for all my apps that Apple has integrated with their systems, and it like partway through the last stream last week, it basically, what do you call it? It said you're like expired on time, and I can bypass it. But I think that was what caused the audio to cut out and just stop completely. But never know. Mike says, "How much snow did you get?" A lot, and we still got. I think it stopped snowing now, but I think we're up to. I mean, it's got to be a foot of snow or more. Yeah, I'm kind of done shoveling my driveway. I went out this morning and I did not shovel the very end of the driveway where the plow pushes snow back up on, and got my car stuck. I was able to get it out. It wasn't too hard, but a lot of back and forth, hitting the gas, and then I just dug a little bit. But I didn't feel like shoveling the end of the driveway. That's my fault. Hey, Sean, welcome to the stream. Glad you're back. Hey, Lucas did this. Welcome. Sojourner actually made it. Fantastic. And I like your little Clippy icon, if anyone knows the reference. Let's see. Terry, welcome to the stream from New Brunswick. Works better for me because I'm an hour ahead of you. Oh, nice. That's great to hear. Let's see here. Nina, welcome to the stream, says, "Hi, what is your record, I'm assuming, for a 3D printer, 300 millimeter cubed build volume?" Oh, so like the total size? I think it's actually smaller than that. The P2S has a, oh, did they really get rid of it? They used, I think it's 256. Correct me if I'm wrong, anybody else in chat, but I think this is 256 millimeters cubed. Honestly, that's fairly big. Yeah, fairly big. Let's see here. Oh, recommended build volume. That's a good question. So I know there are bigger printers. So again, I have the, you can't really see them, but I have the A1 minis back there as well. Build volume, this is the way I like to think about it. Build volume allows me to print more units on a single build plate, which is great, except for the downside is if you're printing like 20 of an object on a build plate and the print fails, you've lost 20 of a product, and also a lot more filament. If you are printing something that just takes up the whole build plate, I think there's concerns there. Every time I run a print that takes the full build plate, I honestly get a little nervous. Like it generally turns out fine. Every once in a while, I'll have a print failure, which everybody has, but it's just like it's hard to bear. I have some, they're over in my other bin. I have a couple that failed, and it's like, man, what a waste of time, what a waste of filament. And sometimes it's, user error, but I typically like to run smaller stuff. Long-term goal, which I haven't done yet, would be to test out some of the automation stuff, but I'm not very comfortable with custom G code. So that I tried it once on the A1 minis, and I felt like I was going to snap the printer because it was like ramming into things. But ideally, you would want to print an object and then eject it from the build plate, and do that over and over, because you don't have the risk necessarily with all the filament and time waste. But yeah, I would say the P2S and the P1S really are as big as you need to go. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Okay, let's see here. So, Random Joe Gamer says Clippy is the new firing AI. Is that what I'm reading? I did not know that. I knew it was the right to yeah, it was right, or something like that. But yeah, if it's firing AI, I get so many emails from AI companies asking partnerships, and I'm like, was there even a sponsor? Let me use this tool to make a okay-ish 3D model that I can print. I don't know. there's probably some use case, but not one that I've really found. James, welcome from Vegas. Let's see, it says Alteri, welcome from Denmark. Okay, perfect. So fire away with the questions today. I've honestly not had a busy week, which is good. So I'll give everybody a quick update here. I am working on a couple things in the shops. I have a video. I know I keep saying that, but there's a video specifically that I've been waiting on doing some tests for that I can get out. So I'll be putting a video up about that here in the next week or so. Um, and things are working great, which is nice to know. But orders have slowed down in combination with also just cranking out orders. All the printers are online and everything is working as intended now. I know I had some things that I was repairing and the P2S was actually down. Turned out to be just a clogged nozzle, which is kind of ironic, but I really had to like clean it out multiple times and do a few cold pulls to get it to work again. And because of that, I was doing like up until last week before the weekend, I was doing those midnight switchovers and printing all day and being at the whim of my printers. But now I am officially, as of even yesterday, printing products for next week now. So I'm very far ahead on the order totals, which is great, and it's just making me feel a lot better about where I'm at. So I've had some breathing room, been using that time to think. Actually starting to get down kind of what I want to do this year and working on some new products, which I showcased one of them last week. But because of that, it's been actually really nice just to kind of have a little bit of a downtime and help more out with my kid. Let's see here. Couple questions. MCE says, have you tried the Z-axis motor noise calibration on the new update for the A1? No, I've not. I've actually not updated any of my printers with the new update. I'm usually an early adopter to these kind of things, but just because I got everything sorted with my printers and I was repairing them for so long, I was like, I don't really want to run into any issues. So I've been kind of just holding out in case there are some issues in the updates. But yeah, and so much so I haven't even read what the update change logs are, so I don't even know what's new. Lucas says, have you tried something like the swap mod for the A1s or the A1 minis? And the answer to that is no as well. The swap mod, it does look reliable. My big issue with that is you have to buy so many build plates, and I don't, and it takes more space. Like the whole thing with the A1 minis for me is the space they take up is tiny, and I like that. That's really a benefit for me because I can fit more in my workspace. But when you start integrating those types of modifications to it, it really makes it big to the point where I'm like, well, I'd just rather have a P2S or P1S. It does look interesting though, and I think it's probably more reliable than the ejection automation method. Sojourner says, my icon is because the right to repair. Oh yes, that's the one I was thinking when I saw it the first time. Jonathan, welcome to the stream, says, I'm going to be out of town for a month in February, and I've heard that putting your Etsy store in vacation mode is bad. What do you think? I have no definitive data on that, but I have run into this exact same issue. What I would recommend is number one, if you can get somebody to take over your shop for that time period, like in my case, I did that last year. I actually had my mom do it. So if you're watching, Mom, thank you for watching over my store while I was out hiking in the woods. But what I did is a lot of work. I prepped everything except for printing the labels and putting them in a box. So my mom didn't have to know all the nuances about, how do you print the products and then put the products together and then package them. I did all that stuff ahead of time, and I set quantities for it. So I had 50 of these, and when they run out, they run out. So that's one thing. That would be my first recommendation. In conjunction or alternative or whatever, you could also just increase your ship times. So like do maybe 3-week lead time on any orders. So whatever you think would give you enough space to come back and print, and still, bump up production before going on print on your vacation. All that to say is, if I were you, I would look for alternatives to putting your shop in vacation mode, because when it is in vacation mode, Etsy completely stops showing the product. Or I think they do. That would make sense. I don't know why Etsy would show a product that you can't buy. So yeah, that could be a hit to your sales. If anyone else has experience with this, please put it down in chat. Uh, Alter, Alter, I can't pronounce your name, dude. Alteri says, how many power circuits are you using for all your printers? Okay, so it is going to be different because you're, in the EU. So I'm not. It's similar, but I'm not entirely sure how it works over there because you're saying 230 volt and we're on 120. But I for my four bamboo P1Ss in my original shop space that away. I for the entire space back there, I ran a dedicated circuit that's 20 amps. Um, that is plenty to run all of that. Everything else over here, all of my A1 minis, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the P2S, uh, it's really maybe on just 2 or 3 circuits, and I have more capacity. The P2S, I've got it on its own. The big thing to watch out for is your peak power usage, which is at the beginning of the print. So I think Bamboo, and I haven't even tested this myself, but I think Bamboo implemented a stagger start feature. So if you want to send like the same job to 4 printers, I think you can set it up and it will automatically stagger the starts to not overload any circuit that it's running on, which is kind of cool if it works as intended. Um, so all that to say is the normal power draw is actually not that much, but I still put this guy on its own, and I'll probably have 4 or 6. I think is 6 is kind of the max on a 15 or 20 amp. I have a short that I actually did the math. Um, you can just dig through my shorts, and I have a couple videos on there where I talk about the exact power and I do all the math to say like for the US, what is a safe amount to be using. Um, let's see here. Sparks, welcome to the stream, says warm enough for you. I'm in Michigan, 60 degrees in my print room at night. It is warm enough for me. We do crank the heat up every once in a while to 72. Keep it a little toastier, but it's colder in the basement. So it's not been too bad. And this again, when people ask why the P1Ss or the A P1S or P2S for me, it's the enclosure. Those allow me to deal with heat fluctuations much better. So the enclosures are kind of a safety net in my shop space, which is kind of nice. Um, let's see here. Random Joe Gamer says, I'll have to learn the automation G code and share. That would be cool. Feel free, if you do, share it with everybody, in comments and stuff. Let's see here. Next one is Sean says, I took a laptop camping and used remote desktop and just had a family member to pack and dispatch and unload printers. That is a next level dedication. Did you have to have like Starlink or something? Or, I mean, you must have been camping not too far out if you had good internet connection to do that. That's kind of cool. Let's see here. 3D Prints by Hayden says, do you sell on Amazon? If so, what's your experience? I have listed a couple things on Amazon, not currently. Somebody in chat, I don't see them here today, always asks me if I have my Amazon set up, and I don't yet. But I don't like their back end. Etsy is still like the easiest platform to use. It's just really user friendly for a seller, and Amazon is not. Amazon also has other restrictions, which have been kind of annoying. I'd really like to have my own shop on Amazon, but there's a lot more that's involved, trademarks and other stuff to be able to get that. So I have not set up Amazon in earnest yet, but that's definitely on the list this year. It kind of depends. Business has been going good, but I think for me, again, the primary thing that will drive sales is marketing, 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 which I need to do a lot more of, and then also the new products. I think that those are going to be the big drivers. Again, if you're going to be going through all of the different platforms, I just find it kind of like stretches me thin. I'd almost rather have like my own website and Etsy and just run off of those two or something. Let's see. Next question is Philip says, what's the best tutorial for plasticity? I started trying to learn 3D modeling. Well, congratulations and welcome to plasticity. It is great. And let's see. Best one to learn would be Refuge 3D. That is the channel that I kind of started on, and I watched a ton of their stuff. There is another channel that does shorts, and that's also pretty helpful. Um, Sheldom says, appreciate your content. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here. All right, I just had something to finish up on the P2S. So let me pull this off real quickly. I'm testing some things out. And this is one of them. Not really a product I'd sell, but maybe. But it is a big chunky dice. I want to see like what angles I could get on it. And honestly, it looks pretty good, except for this corner, I clearly missed. See, it's all chamfered there. It's supposed to be rounded like that, and I I clearly missed to put a radius on there, so that's okay. But I do have a goal. I'm gonna put some paint on this, so I'll get that set up to do it. Okay, let's see here. Today's text says in plasticity, only a one-time payment or yearly. It's a one-time payment, and then you own it. You get with the payment of the or buying the product, you get the next year worth of updates. If you want updates that are beyond that year, you actually have to pay for a. It's like an upgrade. I don't think it's the full cost again, but yeah, I think that's a really fair way to do it. Pretty fair way to do it. Random Joe Gamer says, any thoughts on selling on Whatnot? I've seen a few sellers on there. No, I've not even known or heard about Whatnot. But yeah, I guess not. I guess Whatnot. I've not heard about it. I was trying to find a joke in there, and it really didn't pan out for me. Um, but again, I think like for me, it comes down to like already feeling a little thin in areas, and like just adding more selling channels becomes kind of a task that you have to manage, and that's been tricky. Um, let's see here. I'm going to try to pronounce your name. It's Bruvister says, how much does your sales fluctuate day to day? I had 8 orders over the weekend and a new listing in a new shop, but only 2 orders since the weekend. Yeah, very much just like that. It fluctuates dramatically. And what I thought was also interesting is the fact that I can kind of see when Etsy pushes a listing, because I'll have like a group of sales in a product that I've not sold in months, sell multiples in a row, and then it will like stop again. And it's really odd. I think some of that might be around any advertising, but yeah, it kind of fluctuates. And unless you really get that like bestseller, or you have a lot of products that are not compatible, but like man, what's the word for it? Complementary to each other. Um, I think it's harder to get those very frequent sales. Also, having a larger catalog helps, and being in a market that just has a lot of people already looking for products. Um, MCE says, have you tried the new bamboo engineering plate? And no, I've not. I do have this plate, which is the smooth, the cool super tack smooth, because on the P2S, you actually have to get a different smooth plate for a super tack plate, because the ones from the P1Ss aren't compatible, which is kind of frustrating. But I have actually run into issues with this. If I don't crank the temp up to 55 or higher, my prints don't stick. I've not tried 50, but I just cranked it basically to 60 and I backed off a little bit. They stick really good when it's hotter, but that's not the purpose of the super tack plate. But for me personally, I don't use the super tack plate to run the printers at a cooler temp. I use it for the texture of the surface, because you can get a really nice finish on the part that touches the plate. Like for instance, on the thing we just pulled off the printer, this is the top, that's the bottom. I'll show you again. That's the top, that's the bottom. You like can't really see a difference. It's very, very small, which is great because the textured build plates are really consistent. And honestly, unless you're selling something, just use the textured ones. But the smooth ones just look better. They honestly just look way better, because you don't get like a clear defined, this was on the build plate side of the print. Let's see here. Tobias says, where should I market? Wherever is easiest to you. Um, for me, I think Instagram is going to be, I'm going to get some help from my wife, I hope. Uh, she uses Instagram more than I do, so I can at least pick her brain about some stuff. But um, that's going to be kind of like where I'm going to share product stuff, I think. YouTube is great for the channel, obviously. But yeah, I would say pick whatever channel you're comfortable with that also has your customers there. And then just stick with it. You don't need to spread yourself out. Just stick with one and get really good at it. Let's see here. Spark says, have you ever watched Kill Tony? I have seen Kill Tony before. Chad says, hey everyone, listening while on the road trip. Hope you're doing good. I am. Hope you're doing good as well. And just listen, right? You're not watching on the road. Um, looking forward to the coaching session. Just saw the email regarding, yes. Yeah, and I'll follow up with you today. I've been reaching out to a couple people, so we can get something booked for next week if you're available. But I'll shoot you an email. Random Joe Gamer says, "Whatnot is nice. If you had some free time, you can go live." Oh, interesting. Live auction platform. So it's kind of like a TikTok because they do that, right? People do like the sell live TikTok feeds or whatever. Man, I sound so old when I like don't know the correct lingo and I say that stuff, but I guess I never actually get on the TikTok train. Uh, let's see here. Sheldon says, just watch your kind of struggling video. Are you still printing for that robotics company? No, I'm not. I actually never was printing. It was actually doing like a part-time consulting work with them um, as a consultant. So I wasn't actually printing anything for them. It wasn't about the 3D printing business. And nope, not working with them currently. David says, since you don't do custom orders, do you ever print ahead so you have products on hand? Yes, I do. And it's a little tricky because a lot of the stuff we sell takes quite a while to print, and the orders are all over the place. Like my partner has like, man, I think like 40 plus products, 30 products, and all of those have different variations. So it's not actually economical for me to print and warehouse all that stuff. One, I'd have to buy way more filament. Number two, I would, you know, potentially like I've run into some issues where we've had products that were like, hey, we can make this better in some areas, so we make those changes, but I've already printed product out, and then that has to get scrapped because of for whatever reason. But it would be necessary to basically scrap the products that are printed ahead of time. With my products, it's much easier to print because they are the way they are, and that's what they are. So I can print some of that ahead of time. But yeah, it's easier to do that work when you have a product that you know sells and sells very well. Let's see here. Tobiko, welcome to the stream. Have you ever looked into the Snapmaker U1? Probably interesting for multicolor. I have seen it. I'm getting all defensive doing this. And yeah, I don't know. It's again one of those like early adopter things. Um, I'm spoiled with bamboo, and I think like not to just fanboy on bamboo because I know there's other good printer companies out there, but for the most part, and I know I have all these videos about bamboo sucks. Some of that is intentionally trying to work with the YouTube algorithm to some extent. So blame me if that's a problem, but. Uh, the bamboo printers, for the most part, just work. And for those who point out failures that they have, uh, and like bag on that, like, oh, your printers are down. Coming from other 3D printers, they are so much more work to do the other 3D printers, like the Creality printer that I started with, which was Creality Ender Pro 2, right? It was a good printer as a hobbyist printer. It's actually down on the floor. It just took so much work to maintain it that when something does go on these, yeah, it's a hassle, but the parts are available to buy, and then you can just get it back up and running. And when it's working good, it just works. You know, you don't even need to level the bed, pretty much. Um, Botanical says, I don't understand bamboo folks talking about adhesion. This should not be a problem. I agree with you. I think it's a temperature issue or like build plate cleaning stuff. I've actually seen a lot of stuff on the subreddit with people showing build plates that are not, or parts that are peeled up, and I'm like, in my head, because I do this so often, I'm like, okay, you need to clean it and then turn the heat up a little bit more. Um, Rain Hoeven says K2 or P1S. Still P1S, just for reliability. And at this point, the ecosystem, I'm already head deep in it, so I'm just going to stick with it. Sean says, have done any mods on your P2S to stop the PTFE tube rubbing on the top glass? I've completely rubbed through. Oh, wow. No, I've not. And actually, yeah, it's rubbing on the top glass, but no, I've not had any issues. I've not had any issues on my P1Ss either, and it still is kind of the same setup. It rubs on the top glass, so I'll have to keep an eye out for that. Truffle says, "How do you spend on marketing outside of Etsy and where?" Um, at this moment, I don't. What I would say is, if you're going to spend time and money, spend it on organic efforts. So, set up an Instagram account and start putting pictures out. I'm not saying this as somebody who is actively in that circle doing that, but from my experience in marketing in my corporate life, um, before I'm kind of full time here, that I would say yes, that should be where you're spending your time. And then if you get a following, then you can run some ads as well on top of that. Let's see here. JT, welcome to stream, says, have to ask, do you keyword and term tag like your gears, where the relevance is arc raiders and that stuff heavily copywritten? I've gotten stuff removed for being similar to IP stuff. So yeah, I mean, I do all like for the gears, for instance, if anyone's curious, they're talking about this, my arc raiders gear. And it is, I use like arc raiders. I use all of that stuff um, in the body of the content, like of the copy and the description and in the tags. I've not had any issues, but I don't think Arc Raiders makes that, right? Like if you're making a logo of the business, like somebody like their actual logo, their trademark, and then you're selling that. Like I have seen some signs on Etsy that are like Arc Raiders and it's 3D printed. I'm like, that's gonna get taken down because you're straight up taking something that's theirs and selling it. I am selling something that is in the spirit of their game, with something I modeled and is not a trademark or anything like that. So I would say your stuff being removed is probably because I don't know what it is, but maybe too similar to the IP stuff. Um, but hard to say without knowing what the listings are. Today's tech says, do you use the ironing feature? And that's a good question. Is it we do on some of the prints, and I will be honest, I'm not a fan of ironing because when you're running a 3D print business, which is a manufacturing business, you need to have consistency across all your printers. Um, this I've been really refining what I'm thinking about, like what are the constraints of 3D printing that you should think about when designing products and manufacturing them. And one of them is ironing is not really a good solution. It can look nice, but the problem is every individual printer requires slightly different ironing settings, and those ironing settings save onto the filament, no, onto the 3MF or the slicing file uh, settings, not the printer. So if you want to like say, hey, I want to enable um, ironing for the P2S and for one of my P1Ss, and they have different settings to get the finish you want. You have to change the settings every single time inside of your slice file for that to work. And the same thing is true if you're going from P1S to P1S. Uh, because you can't do that, it doesn't make it something that's scalable. You're going to give yourself a headache. You're going to have some that work, some that don't. You need to only adjust and work within the parameters of settings that save to the printer, such as flow rate calibration, that don't get impacted by the settings that you tweak in the 3MF file. That's going to save you a lot of time, a lot of hassle. I understand the finish can look really nice, but again, a well-calibrated 3D printer, here's the bottom, here's the top. Using the smooth tack plates, it's going to look really good. I mean, again, you can only expect so much from 3D printing. Can do really cool things, get you really far, but it's still not injection molding. Injection molding still has its advantages, and it's not CNC machining with like metal or anything. That has its advantages. So you got to understand what that framework and constraints are. Um, let's see here. MCE says, have you had issues with prints not adhering to the cool plate? Yes, every once in a while. And actually, where is it here? Let me see if I can go find it. It is my bottle of 3D lac. Says my secret sauce. If I'm ever concerned about a print, the two things I do is say I'm going to turn up the print bed temperature and then use some 3D lac. I'm not sponsored, but this is the same bottle. I'm almost out finally. But I'll just spray some 3D lac on that, and it doesn't leave marking. Kind of like how glue sticks used to leave that residue from the glue stick on the print. That does not leave any residue. So that helps with just adhering to the bed. Pretty good. 3D Farmer says, are you using any automatic print systems with a winky face? And winky face right back at you. I know you've got your farm loop system, which I've looked at before. I've just not had, I've just not really sat down and done the work necessary to get the farm loop or any of the other automation systems up. I've dabbled in it just a little bit, but yeah, that's a chore for later in the year. Uh, what I'm first trying to move to is really to do work within 8-hour chunks, 4 to 8 hours. So if I can run my printers 2 times a day, 3 times a day actually. So run overnight, one at the beginning of the day at like 8 a.m. when I switch over plates, and then another one at I don't know 6, uh, 4 to 6 p.m. So I guess that's just two, but ideally, kind of like a shift at a manufacturing plant. If I can run my printers that way and still maintain order fulfillment and getting stuff out the door on time, that'd be really nice because not only are you reducing the amount that you have to be attentive to the printers, but actually that is the benefit. Obviously, there's a cap to your production there, but yeah, automation for next Christmas might be definitely important. Tim says, I just ordered an A1 combo for my first printer. That is a good choice. Want to try some 28 to 32 millimeter miniatures. I don't know what filament you should get. Oh, you are asking some good questions. I don't think I have an unopened box, but I have some right here. And this stuff works pretty good. Let me see what the brand is. It's not going to show me. Okay, well, I'm just going to pause this here. You can rewind it and maybe type in that code on Amazon. But this filament is like closer to like a standard bamboo PLA, like not matte, but just regular PLA. But this stuff works pretty good. For some reference, let me grab a couple minis and I can show you kind of what the quality of them is. I like it and it works good. Obviously, still not going to be as good as a resin printer, but if you're just looking to throw some minis on a table and have some fun, you can definitely do that. So this guy right here, this guy was printed on a 0.2 nozzle. Let me see if I can focus it not on my face. If it will focus, please. So this guy was pointed on a 0.2 nozzle. There's some rough edges on the bottom, used a lot of supports, a lot of work to get it cleaned up, but looks good. Paints fairly well. And then here is a bigger vehicle, printed in multiple parts and all glued up. Like down here is where you can really see how rough it is because it needed the supports and stuff. But yeah, grab yourself a 0.2 nozzle and honestly, the bamboo matte filament works good too. You'll start to understand what works and what doesn't. Khaki Hat says, have you heard about the new Creality filament recycler? And I literally just saw it today. I'll be interested to see if anyone like has some luck with it. I like the idea of recycling filament, but I can also see like there's some trickiness with it, right? Uh, like it has to be super accurate in diameter, which is going to be important. That's going to be, I think, the big one. So I'll be interested to see when people have it in hand and how they like it. Um, Sheldom says, top five tips for succeeding with selling on Etsy. Uh, design your own products. Uh, let's see, design your own products. Move on when they don't sell, as in like make lots of products. Take really good photos. Have really good listing descriptions, and target problems that you are really bothered by. Because if you are bothered by it, somebody else is too. Okay, those are just quick 5 tips. Welcome to the stream. And somebody already asked. I still don't have Amazon set up, but yes. Let's see here. They're asking also, how were December sales? Fantastic, over 425 orders across everything I'm doing. So crazy busy. Wasn't up until this is the first week where I'm a week ahead. I've been basically shipping up to the day of ship date. So it's been crazy. Judy says, I think it's Junal says, I saw you have a carton packing where you that you have a staple on. How do you print them? What did I use to? I saw you have a carton packing where you're gonna have to explain a little bit more. I'm not sure I understand the question. Um, let's see here. Next one is, let's see, Garrett, welcome to the stream. Wow, we've seen a lot of new people. Hey, Sean. Okay, let's see here. A lot of people talking about Sunlu. Garrett said, ordering the Doing to Done book you mentioned before. Hopefully it's very useful. If you can stick with the system, you'll be very happy with it. Okay, Truffle says, how many printers do you have in your print farm? Let's go do a little tour, actually. I think I've got all the packing slips tucked away. Okay, so we'll start over here in this corner of the shop. We have 7 A1 minis. This guy is set up kind of a flex printer. Right now it's got some TPU up here on the top. I just have it mounted on my ceiling. This guy is under repair. I actually have to get, I cut the thermistor on it. It had a blob of plastic up behind it, and then I cut it. So you can see kind of right there, I think. Yeah, I need to order a part for that. I'll do that in my next filament shipment. This is the only one that I have right here, this guy with the AMS unit. And this one basically just exclusively runs products for my personal shop. It's easy. I have a few colors that I'd use that I don't use with my partner. And yeah, it's just easy to put on there. And all of my products fit on a build plate for the A1 Mini, because that's what I started with originally. Down here are my 4 others that are set up, and they work great. Again, I just have these mounted up behind there. And I know somebody said, like, I'm really disappointed, or they weren't disappointed, but they were all like, you're running the plastic right here directly in, and they're like, that's really bothersome. But the spools are pretty much high enough up that it pulls nicely without really messing with the printers. Zooming out a little bit, we've got the P2S. That is a temporary location until I buy 3 more of those, which will, I don't know, be when orders dictate I need them. So that's that guy. You guys have already seen the rest of this space. But then moving back over here to the rest of my shop, which is kind of a disaster, I'll be honest with everybody. I stole pretty much everything from my pegboards, and I moved all of my stuff onto this bench to make this space more clean, so I can start cleaning it and reorganizing it again. I stole a bunch of stuff from there for the other bins, because most of it was like stuff for assembly. And yeah, and then moving this way, I've got there's my 4 P1Ss, and those guys, again, just do good work. And then I still have my little rack here. So here's some stuff that I printed out and got ready to go and printed ahead of time, so I can just pull it when I need it. But that is what I'm at. So I said, what, we're at 5 and 7, so we have 12 printers currently. Everything here going forward is going to be, I think, the P2S on all of my prints, or on all my future purchases. Again, I'm looking for long term to get an ecosystem with all the same exact printer to make my life a little easier. Um, okay, so you're clarifying the question, carton packaging that you staple on the package. Um, yeah, so I actually don't staple anything on the packages. What you might be thinking of is sometimes I have these little inserts like this that I put in there, but it's just a paper insert. I'm kind of moving away from some of that, but yeah, it's I usually, if I have some type of dedicated packaging, I 3D print like a frame and then put the product in it, and then maybe a paper insert as well. Let's see here. Next question. Okay, so someone's asking, Atlas says, well, hello from Denmark as well. Glad you could make it to the stream. What's your experience with the P2S? Experience with the P2S has been mixed. And the reason why is, unfortunately, when I first got it, I actually ran the bad batch of bamboo filament through it that I didn't know was bad. And because of that, I ended up getting it clogged, and I've had a pretty bad experience with it failing constantly since then. It wasn't until about a week and a half ago where I had time to really tear the machine apart, really clean things out, that I was able to get it back up and running. Since then, it has been a fantastic machine. It works great. I like the AI features, or I don't even know if they're AI, but the spaghettification detection. Some of those things are really nice, and there are some just quality of life features that make it a superior printer to the P1S. Now, when I say superior, I don't necessarily mean that like the quality is better, but I would say it long term. I could see this printer being more consistent and keeping an eye out, being like an extra employee, keeping an eye out on things for you that the P1S just doesn't have. Again, it's the same price that was expecting to pay for the P1S as I expanded my business. So it's a no-brainer to purchase those moving forward. Let's see here. Garrett says, "Did you ever finish your under monitor setup you were designing?" I was like so close, and then I got all. Then December hit, and I had no time to print stuff. Um, it is like almost ready to go. Honestly, I could maybe spend a little bit of time this weekend printing it, but because I had to steal everything from my shop, I'm like, well, am I going to move anything around over there now? So I haven't printed it off yet. Um, Spending more time to think about it. I've been thinking about a couple additional things that I might want to like tweak on it or change. So I would say I'm 90% done with it. MCE says, do you like PLA carbon fiber? Um, yes, I've used a little bit of it, and I've seen some people say that like you could stab yourself with it or get the fibers in your fingers. I'm not sure. It does look really cool. It has a nice texture and feels cool, and it is stronger. Truffles, thank you for the $5 and the cute little emoji there. Um, Ginger Beard Man, welcome. Mine's not very gingery at the moment, but I have been told I have a ginger beard. Uh, what is the best modeling software to recommend? Well, first modeling, Tinkercad question mark. So we were talking about plasticity earlier. Honestly, I would say if you want to use a free software, um, use Tinkercad or Blender. If you want to use a paid software, I would recommend Plasticity, again, just because it's just a good software. It works really well. There's a lot of tutorials out there for it. It's pretty what you want to do is it's very visual. So if you want to do something to it, it's very easy to manipulate it in the way you think it's going to be manipulated, an object. So yeah, that would be cool. Atlas says Onshape as their recommendation, and I would say this: Onshape is a great tool, but again, if your motivation is to move into selling products, Onshape requires you to purchase their product to use it commercially, and it is not cheap at all. And it's not a one-time purchase. You're going to be paying for that yearly, over and over and over for eternity to be able to use their software. So unless I started with Onshape, but quickly moved away. Sean says, I've got 4 P2Ss. Prints have been great. had a filament buffer fail. Interesting. I think they actually fixed that. I heard that if you buy a P2S now, it's actually different, the buffer on the back than what it was originally. Um, let's see here. Ginger Beardman says, "Do you know if plasticity works well with Prusa?" Absolutely, it does. Any 3D modeling software will work great with any 3D printer because they're not connected in any way. So you can, as long as it's exported as an STL file, you can then import that into the slicer. And the slicer is where all the magic happens, and takes that file, that 3D model, and sends it to the printer. So yes, it will work great with that. The Real Vendetta says, "I use Fusion, but only because I can run a machine shop, so it gives us cam ability." That's very cool. Yeah. So again, use cases, right? That is a feature I will never use. So there's no reason for me to pay for software that has all this extra stuff that I just don't need. And I used to think that I really need the threading. I really wanted the thread tool as well, for a software, but I found that in plasticity, and especially for 3D printing, if you're 3D printing threads, you're not 3D printing threads for a metal screw or bolt. You're just not. You're 3D printing threads to work with another 3D printed part. So what that means is you don't have to follow any of the standards for threading. You can really make it whatever pitch and length or size that you want. And because of that, it's actually just really easy to model the threads yourself and get the feel that you want, rather than trying to adhere to some existing standard that you're not going to really fit well with. I do use machine screws a lot in the business, but we make them pressure fit, and it actually threads and creates threads just by screwing itself into the plastic. They're not designed to be unscrewed and screwed back in constantly. That won't work well either. They're kind of like a set it and it's done kind of thing. Sheldon says, "Is there a way to infill only a certain part of the print?" There is. I forgot how to do it, but yes, there is. I think what you do is maybe slice it into separate parts, but keep it as an object, and then you change the infill percentage for the different parts. Atlas says, "I heard Bamboo Lab doesn't open net for live streaming on P2S. Do you have some experience?" I don't have experience. I've actually not done any of the live streaming or even recording. I've not even done the time lapse, which I need to try on the P2S because I think it's good enough that you can use for video purposes. All right. Any more questions? We're having a good stream. I think I'm going to dip out a little early today so I can go help make dinner. It's going to be really hard. We're having pizza, but yeah, let's see here. Laggers, welcome to the stream, says, "What's a good way to start a 3D printing business?" Ooh, to start, no. A serious answer would be learn 3D modeling, design your own products, learn how to 3D print them. Once you've done that, then you can think about starting a business. But don't just, I would say start there, and if you like it, then continue on. But yeah, you don't want to invest a bunch of time and money into something with the intention of it being a business, and then finding out that you actually hate it. So, MCE says, or Printer Trucker, welcome to the stream. MCE says, "What do you want for an A2 Mini?" Ooh, what do I want for an A2 Mini? I don't know. It's just such a good little machine. Like, what could they honestly, a better top mount spool, but like you have modifications for that you can just print off. I don't know. Honestly, I don't think the A1 Mini needs anything else. It's just a good little machine. Yeah, it's a good question though. 297553 says, "Hey, from Germany, what kind of filament management system are you using?" My filament management system consists of me going, "I think I need some more filament," and then I go on to their website and buy some. It's the worst kind, but it's worked so far. I have been buying in bigger batches, so it's not been an issue. Um, Peter Arnold, excuse me, says, "Have you ever tried printing TPU onto fabric?" And I've not tried that. Not sure I will, but I have seen it. It's really cool, especially if you do cosplay stuff. You could build like really intricate like armor designs. Sheldon says, "I have a patent pending product that I need to simplify for production. Right now, I print the part straight and then I put it onto another part to add a curve uh, to do it with a heat gun. Any advice?" Ooh, yeah. So hard to give you advice because I don't know what it is. I understand you're not going to share it here if you have a patent pending as well. But yeah, the one thing I would say is like if you have to do the bend afterwards with a heat gun, you're really going to be reducing the strength of the part. But yeah, I don't know. Sounds interesting. Good luck with the patent. I hope it goes through for you. Um, let's see here. Sickbot, do you like the P1S? 100% I do. Uh, Garrett Van says, "I insert a screw thread to a model and then I use the thread chaser to clean up the print." Interesting. So actually, just so everyone sees, I think this is what you're talking about. I do have heat inserts that I use right here. If I will focus, it's not gonna. And these little heat inserts, I press in for some of the products that do need to be removable, and then other screws. So it just depends on the part, but I'd say for the most part, for the vast majority of things, I don't use heat inserts. It's one extra step, and often it's not necessary. Um, Ozman, I'd love to help you, but I have no idea where to start with that. I have an AMS2 Pro which won't load filament into the P1S. Um, yeah, that's tear it apart, I guess. Um, yeah, it's tricky, and it's also hard to diagnose if you're not there, right? Um, I'm sure you've tried bamboo support, but that's what I would do. Um, all right, everybody, put in your final questions. I'm actually going to get prepped to head up, but Cyber Tom, welcome to the stream. We're just ending it up here. Let me do the final kind of wrap up stuff. Next week we'll be doing we will be doing the live stream on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern, unless I say otherwise. Like this week was an hour later. Uh, Stay tuned for shorts and videos coming out. I am finally at a point where I am caught up and a little bit ahead, so I can go ahead and start getting videos out, which sounds great. Um, yeah, and I think that's really it. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. It's a blast. And I'm gonna get back to having a good evening. And 3D Farmers, I got my email in the bio. If you ever want to chat, feel free to shoot me an email and we can start up a conversation. Okay, everybody. Thanks again. I'll see y'all later. And thanks for tuning in.